Om. Many years ago, I had this opportunity to listen to this amazing talk by Osho on what is wrong with religion. This talk, I thought I would share with friends, and this is primarily meant for us to understand our own spiritual practices. It is not meant to compare any other religion. We are not entering into any controversial aspects about religion. We are looking at our own religious practices and how over the years that we are not affected by the limitations that can happen from various religious practices. Over the years, religion has done a lot of good to people, but religion has done a lot of harm also. And one of the great harm that religion has done is through fanatics in religion, what is called religious fanaticism. A fanatic is not able to tolerate other religions. Their religion is the religion. They cannot read other scriptures or be open to other revelations of God. Everything else is absolutely false. These people have done a great harm to religion. So much of wars and so much of killings have happened in the name of religion. This is the problem with most religions. Unfortunately, the majority of humanity have this problem as far as religion is concerned. And therefore, this is a message for us that as practitioners of religion, let us be very sensitive to other people and not allow people to, from our own religion, to be able to express any forms of religious fanaticism. A fanatic is worse than an irreligious person because an irreligious person at least is open for discussion. The problem is we are all conditioned in this way. We are brought up in this way. We are brought up to believe that our religion is the best religion. And over a period of time, we tolerate the other religions on a social grounds with always a feeling that my religion is better than yours. And this is the problem. Osho talks about a certain joke about Mullah Nasruddin. Mullah Nasruddin goes to a palmist, and the palmist looks at his hands and he says, you have a lot of bad period of time, and that will go on till the age of 60 years. Mullah goes and smiles and asks the palmist, and what happens after that? He says, after that, you will get used to it. The problem is we get used to it. I'd like to share my experiences when I stayed with a Catholic family in the United States. This was an elderly couple. I stayed with them for a short time. I gelled with the family very well. I took part in all their religious and other practices. One of the things I liked was the kind of quality of prayer that they would chant at home, especially before meals. I would attend the church services along with them. And when the time came for me to leave, my hostess was a little upset. There were tears in her eyes. And later I could find out what the real problem was. She honestly believed that because I was not a Christian, there was no salvation for me. She mentioned to her friends, he's a nice person, but very unfortunate that there is no salvation. This is the problem because we are not exposed to other religions. And that is what we can do is at least we can limit the fanatical tendencies in us or people around us, because this is one of the biggest dangers about religion. The second problem about religion is that God has to be feared. Now, initially to instill discipline, maybe it is, these concepts are instilled, but over a period of time, God is someone to be loved and not someone to be feared. Man is afraid, the world is a strange place, and everybody wants to be secure. So we look for a father figure. Initially, our parents fulfill that role of being a father figure. But as we grow older, we find that our parents are no longer able to fulfill this role. And people look up to God for a father figure. Osho gives an example of David Winnicott, a psychologist who has done an excellent study, which all of us can relate to. He speaks of children, how they relate to a particular toy, a teddy bear, or sometimes a blanket. The child develops a very special attachment to this blanket or to this teddy bear. The child has a conversation. It becomes real. It becomes a person to it. When the child goes to sleep, the child will cuddle with that blanket or with the teddy bear. Over a period of time, the attachment to this teddy bear or blanket becomes so much that when it gets old, when it gets tattered, when it gets dirty, the parents are not able to replace it because this is something very special. It is something which cannot be replaced by anything else. Whenever the family has to travel, the parents have to remember to carry that particular blanket or to that particular teddy bear. Otherwise, the child is going to have problems at certain moments when the child is going to sleep or when the child is by himself or herself. Up to which the story is fine. Now let us come to us as far as David Winnicott's study is how it relates to us as our relationship with God. Is God a kind of teddy bear for us? Our images in our gods for our temple is so personal. When we relate to our particular form of God, there is so much of a sense of reverence that comes to us, but which does not happen when you go to places of worship of other religions or when they come to your place. Now, therefore, this is all right for a certain period of time, but as we grow older, this is something that we need to get over. Otherwise, God becomes a form of a teddy bear. As long as God is to be feared, there comes the concept of hell if I do something wrong. And this becomes the religion of don't do this, don't do that, and bringing in a lot of repression, a lot of sense of guilt, and so on. There is a mantra that comes in the Kenopanishad, which shakes up a bhakta, shakes up a devotee, which says, Yen manasa na manute, ye nahur mano matam, tadeva brahmam tam tvam vidhi, na edam yaditam upasate. The Upanishad says, those idols that you've been worshipping, those idols you've been doing puja for, that is not the real God. That is only a symbol. Over a period, we need to be able to grow over them. And this for a devotee becomes extremely painful. The example sometimes teachers give is that of a pole vault. Up to a certain stage, these symbols, these religious symbols help us to grow to a certain height. And once we grow to that particular level, the moment we are able to cross the bar, we should be able to gracefully detach from our religious symbolisms and not have a sense that otherwise, if we cling on to it, we are not able to go beyond. And we are not able to go beyond, we cling to it. And this is why we have a lot of differences with people. And all the clashes comes with our respective teddy bear. The third form of religion which we need to grow over is a greed-oriented religion. The do religion, where initially they stipulate a lot of religious practices that have to be done. And if you don't do, you are in for sin, various forms of sins that can happen if you don't do certain religious practices. The key word for the do religion is heaven. And if you do so, you get punya. We all know that once we leave this world, once we die, we cannot carry any fortune from here. So we need to develop a certain currency for the future world, and the currency for the future world is virtue or punya. So these religions are desire-oriented religion. None of these religions are pure. Wherever there is greed, there is fear. And wherever there is greed and fear, there is ignorance. These are the three wrong aspects of religion. These practices are primarily meant for us. As I said, we are not trying to be critical about any religion. This is there in every religion. And as we grow up, we need to see that we are not limited by the do's and the don'ts or various symbols which help us initially. The fourth limitation of religion is the religion of logic, calculation, or cleverness. This is a combination of a do plus don't religion. It is very worldly, materialistic, theoretical, scriptural, traditional, in a way exploitational, institutionalized a method of being able to raise funds. This is the religions of high scholars and pandits who are able to organize religion. It's a combination of a do and don't religion. Again, this is okay to structure us for a certain period of time, but then we have to realize that there is a time that we need to grow over these forms of limitations. If you're not able to grow beyond, then however much practices that we do in our life, we still remain struggling where we are. It is always said that if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. Is there something higher? Osho talks about the fifth, sixth, and the seventh types of religion. What are the fifth, sixth, and seventh aspects of the religion? The fifth aspect of religion is based on intelligence, not on logic. It is a mind-based religion, and it is also the highest aspect of the mind. The fourth type of religion is mind-based, whereas the fifth is the most evolved form of the mind. Essentially, we need to use the mind because in one Upanishad called the Amrita Bindu Upanishad, verse number 2 goes like this: Mana eva manushyanam karana bandha mokshaye. Mind is the cause of bondage, and the same mind is the cause of freedom. And therefore, through various scriptural practices, we should be able to refine our mind to such an extent that we are able to move from God to godliness, from prayer to prayerfulness, to bring a sense of reverence. We need to move out from the intellect to intelligence, because intellect is logical, intelligence is paradoxical. And God comes not in the domain of logic, God comes in the domain of the paradox. Intellect is very analytical, whereas intelligence is synthetical. Intelligence, now Osho gives an example of a rose seen by the intellect and the rose seen by the intelligence. The intellect analyzes, it dissects, it can take a rose and bring it down to the smallest components. It can study the rose or each aspect of the rose in detail. You can put each component in a bottle. You would have studied everything in detail, but finally you will not see one bottle which is termed beauty. Beauty does not come from the parts. Beauty comes from the whole. So where intellect is an instrument of science, intelligence is the instrument of religion. Religion does not dissect. Religion, true religion, shall not separate people. It brings people together. The word yoga means to join. I'm not talking about Patanjali school of yoga. The word yoga literally means to put things together, to join, because God is the greatest totality. God means Purnatvam. God is not a person. Initially, you can take God as a person, but as we grow, we need to go beyond a personal God. God is a presence. The presence, when the total is functioning in a great harmony, the trees, the birds, the earth, the stars, the sun, the moon, the rivers, the ocean, all together in that togetherness, that is God, and that is what we call the Vishwarupa Darshan, as illustrated very beautifully in the 10th chapter, that is the Vibhuti Yoga, and the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The Upanishads talk of God in the form of existence, and the Upanishads train a person to be able to see anything that exists is God as a manifest form of God. God is not a person, but a presence when the total is functioning in a great harmony. That is why in India, trees are worshipped, birds like Garudas worshipped, the earth is worshipped, the earth is considered as goddess Lakshmi, the sun, the rivers, all together becomes God. So this is the religion of inclusion, where everything is God. The Upanishad says what is God. God exists wherever there is union. God exists where there is yoga. And this is exactly the religion of the Sufis. The Sufis have a wonderful mantra which go like this: La ilaha illallah. And the Sufis say, don't waste your breath for even 1 minute. You know, whilst you can chant only while you're breathing out, but mentally you can chant whether you're breathing in or breathing out. And the Sufis' message is, let this prayer be in your mind all the time. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, which means other than God, nothing exists. Only God exists. And if God exists, everything that I see in front of me is God and godliness. And that brings about a tremendous sense of reverence to all the objects in front of you. From now on, we have moved from God to godliness. Osho has spoken about the Sufis and various Sufi stories. And one day when I have a time, I will introduce some of these Sufi stories to you. There is one mantra from the Isha Vasya Upanishad. This is the first mantra of the Isha Vasya Upanishad, which goes this way: Om Isha Vasyam idam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjitaha ma grada kasya siddhanam. Mahatma Gandhi loved this mantra so much. He said, this symbolizes the entire Upanishad. And if all the Upanishads were lost, and if you had this mantra alone, and this you're able to recollect message of the entire Upanishads. What this says is, can you develop a deep sense of reverence to this world around you? And then you are not here to grab for yourself, but on the other hand, you are here to serve. You're going to treat this world around you like you treat a goddess or you treat your mother. And that is why in India, we worship trees like the Ashwatha tree. We have the Ayudha Puja, we worship cows, but so often it is so mechanical. We need to be able to see rivers are worshipped, mountains are worshipped. There is a beautiful prayer which we are supposed to say early morning before we touch our feet to the ground, and this goes like this to Goddess Lakshmi: Samudra Vasane Devi Parvati Stana Mandale Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsha Kshamasave. Oh Goddess Lakshmi, I am going to put my feet on you. Please excuse me. And that is the kind of reverence with which you are supposed to touch the ground. We eat at least 6 times a day, and our culture says, can you chant this prayer, which goes like this? This is not from the Upanishads, and this is a wonderful prayer from the Bhagavad Gita, which goes like this: Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhinaha, which means everything that I see, I do, I offer is Brahman, and Brahman can be reached alone by that person who sees Brahman in and through every action, in and through everything. This is a very famous and a very common exercise done by Swami Paramatmanandaji. He shows his palm and asks this question: what do you see? And then, of course, you will see the hand, the fingers, the gaps between the fingers. And then he gives you a hint. In addition to everything else, he says something other than the hand, which is, and because of that, he gives you a clue. Because of that, you're able to see the hand. And finally, after a few coaxing, somebody comes with a bright idea. It is, I'm able to see the light on the hand. So the teacher makes you see that in addition to the hand, you need to focus on something else, because of which you're able to see the hand, and that is the light on the hand. The teacher slowly takes you from the object to the subject. He said, I'm able to see this hand because my eyes are functioning. So the student is made to see from the hand. You're able to see your own vision. I'm able to see because my mind is functioning. I'm able to see because behind my mind is my consciousness. And therefore, when I see any object, I see the light on that object. And with that light, I'm able to see the light of consciousness. There is this beautiful verse which we need to remember all the time. Like the Sufis say, La ilaha illallah, or like we say, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi. This is a prayer to be remembered. Prati bodha viditam matam. In every experience, am I able to see the experiencer? And this takes you to the 5th stage of religion, the religion of godliness, the ability to see God in and through everything. Osho takes you to something even higher. He says, now whenever I see an object out there, I'm able to see that because of the consciousness within me. When I'm able to focus on the seeing the seer within me, now I come to the level of meditation, the religion of Chit. This is the religion of the mindfulness of a Buddha, the religion of dhyana, or the religion of awareness. This brings about tremendous amount of sensitivity. The fifth form of religion, which uses the mind to the highest, is still a form of religion where we still use the mind, where the intellect is used. Intelligence is the highest form of the intellect. Intellect goes down on the same mind, whereas the intelligence goes upwards on the same mind. Whereas in meditation, the mind is discarded. You come to a level of no mind. No mind means when you are listening, are you listening with your mind, or are you listening from openness? When you are watching, are you watching through your mind, or are you watching through pure awareness? When this happens, you can do walking meditation, you can do talking meditation. It does not matter what you do. Your whole life becomes an act of meditation. I love this particular story that comes from the Song of the Bird. This is one of my first spiritual guides, Father Anthony de Mello, in his wonderful book, The Song of the Bird, which is a string of spiritual stories. There is a particular story that I would like to share with you. This is a story of a master and a student. A student comes to the teacher and says, my Lord, there is still something that you have not taught me. I still see a big gap between me and you. I have not been able to reach where you are. The teacher confesses, whatever I know, I have shared with you. So the master asks the student to come with him for a walk. And as they are walking, suddenly they hear a bird sing. So the master looks at the student and says, did you hear that bird sing? And the student says, yes. The teacher asks him, have I hidden anything from you? And the student says, no. Now, this can happen only when you go beyond the mind. These things cannot be analyzed from the mind. This happens only when a person comes to a state of a meditative mind. Osho then takes you to the highest level of religion, that we need to go from the religion of Sat to the religion of Chit to the religion of Ananda, the religion of ecstasy, the religion of Samadhi. The word Samadhi means some, Adi. Adi means the Lord. Some means one who is together with the Lord. It is the religion of Ananda, the religion of joy, celebration, song, and dance. Now, be certain about the meaning of the word Ananda. Ananda just does not mean bliss. The real meaning of Ananda means Ananta. Ananta in Sanskrit means that which has no limits. No limits in time, no limits in space, no limits in objects. And when you experience your limitlessness, you know, when does dukkha or sorrow come? Dukkha or sorrow comes whenever there is limitations. I have limitations in time, I have limitations in objects, I feel a sense of sorrow. But whenever you experience limitlessness, example, when you are in deep sleep or in an experience of certain forms of meditation, when you see no limitations, you experience Ananda because you experience limitlessness. The highest form of religion is the religion of Ananta, or no limits. This is the religion of various teachers who bring in joy. The religion of Swami Anubhavanandaji. A few years ago, when he came to Bangalore, he was with us for a week, and a time came when we had to say goodbye. A few friends of us were together with him. We had dinner together. And when the time came to go part, I gathered some courage to ask him a question, because I never asked him anything. And I asked him, Swamiji, do you have a message for me? Without thinking, he gave a sudden message. He says, be happy. It struck me as perhaps a very, very profound message. You know, there is no way you can become happy. Happiness is what you are. Happiness is now. There is a beautiful poem which I would like to conclude with. The time to be happy is now. The place to be happy is here. The way to be happy is just to be happy. There is nothing to be done. There is nowhere to go because you are already that which you can possibly be. I will conclude the way Osho concludes. Now, these are words of his. And Osho says, peace is good, but something is lacking in it. Bliss is lacking. When peace starts dancing, it is bliss. When peace becomes active, overflowing, it is bliss. Then it is Samadhi, one with the Lord. This is the highest form of religion. Sant Kabir, in one of his dohas, had said, I had gone to Kailash, I went to Kaaba, I could not find God. And because I could not find God, I decided to do a certain practice. And the practice was 4 things. And Kabir says, and this was told to me by Swami Sukhabodhananda many years ago, and I think it is as very, very significant. The 4 things are to be very, very silent. Not only external silence, but a state when there are absolutely no thoughts. The second exercise, Kabir said, is to be very alert, to be very aware. The third exercise, he said, to be very loving, to see yourself in everybody. And the fourth is to be very celebrative, to bring in song, dance, celebration every moment of your life. And Kabir realized one thing. When he was silent, when he was intensely aware, when he was loving and he was celebrative, the need to look for God disappeared. And instead, he heard a voice which says, Kabir, where are you? Oh Kabir, where are you? Again, these are words from Osho, and this is how he concludes. He says, peace has to dance and silence has to sing. Unless your innermost realization becomes a laughter, something is still lacking. Something still has to be done. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti